Alrighty, y'all.
What's
We're doing
up,
a podcast.
guys? The final score is live again tonight, and you guys know right here, this is the best thing going today. I've got the Three River Stadium in the background. You know, I'm a old. Uh, uh, Let me get this thing. Let me get this thing out of my face right here. I didn't even realize this. There we go. That's better. The old Three River Stadium in the background. The terrible towel with all the Super Bowls at the time. And with me tonight, and I look, you know what? I didn't even get your name, but I'm gonna just call him TikTok. I met this guy on TikTok, Steelers for life. I don't even know if you want to give your name out. That's fine. If not, we'll just call you Steelers for life. What's up, buddy?
Oh, I'm Matt, by the way. I'm just
Hey,
chilling though. What about you?
same old, bud. Just hanging around. It is a very rainy night over here. I'm in North Carolina. I don't know where you're at. Are you in
I'm in
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's raining. You know what I mean?
It's been a nasty week so far here. I mean, a nasty week. Thank God this is not snow. I know y'all get more snow up there than we do, but uh, thank God this is not snow. The weather is it's just nasty out there. Haven't been out much today. I was off to work today, so had time to get ready, which it didn't take a lot of time to get ready to talk about. The best football team in the world, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So tonight, excuse me, Matt is going to be talking about his top 10 favorite Steelers, and I'm going to chime in with some of mine as well because you've heard some of my
Bring our
lists.
bros.
I do have a list up here of mine just in case, just to follow up. But like I said, saw Matt go live on TikTok, and we got to talking back and forth. Matt is a diehard Steelers fan, man. He's got like decked out with Steelers stuff. And look at the background, guys.
Hold on,
I
hold
mean,
on, hold on.
hold on. He's going to give you a better view. And look at what he's wearing too, dude. I mean, he's he's got the Steelers chain logo chain necklace. He's got the pant. He's got everything. I mean, this is the kind of guy you want to hang around with right here. Not any of that Ravens crap. Sorry, Ravens fan. No, I'm not. But so we're gonna get started right here. First question for you: how long have you been a Steelers fan?
I mean, I've been a Steelers fan pretty much all my life. My first game was when I was 4. 26 now, so I'd say like in terms of like talking about the Steelers, probably 22 years. Um, it's been crazy. I remember the first game. I was waving my terrible towel, and I hit this older fan in front of me, and he turned around and started laughing. We had a good time for sure. Appreciate the heart me too. Yeah, it was funny. He turned around. He's like, "Oh, is it your first game?" I was like, "Yeah, it was my first game for sure." And ever since then, I just love the team, love the environment. The environment's always amazing down there at Heinz Field. We're not calling it Acrisure. We can't do that. But
No,
down at Heinz Field,
thank you,
always amazing.
thank you. I cannot do that because let me tell you, guys, uh, I'm a ketchup. I put ketchup on everything. And I've been doing that
Yeah,
all my life. I'm almost 50. I'm 50 years old now. I'm almost 50. Uh, but from the time I was a kid, I always put Heinz ketchup was the only ketchup I wanted. Mom would get all this other stuff. I was like, just get. I want Heinz. I just want Heinz. But when they named that field Heinz Field, I was like, you can't get any better. Pittsburgh Steelers, Heinz
yeah.
ketchup. And then when they did the whole get in the red zone and the ketchup bottle pouring, oh my gosh, that just just fit me to a T. There was I was meant to be a Steelers fan from birth. So what was
So
the
how long
first
have you
game?
been?
You remember the first game you went to? I mean, who were they playing?
Oh man, it's been so long. I was a little kid. I was just
Yeah,
soaking up the experience
Soak Up
down there.
Atmosphere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the atmosphere was crazy for sure. I didn't know. Um, I mean, I knew how to speak, but at that age, you're kind of getting the transition of sentences and stuff like that. So it was an amazing experience for sure. And then after that, I just tried to go to as many games as I could. You know, growing up. You know what I mean? I just wasn't as fortunate, you know, and I just tried to go when I could,
Right.
try to do chores, save up, go to games. But just, you know, growing up, even before I could start driving, I tried to make 2 to 3 games a year.
That's
And at
cool.
that age, it was, you know, pretty cool. But now I'm trying to travel to every stadium. So,
Yeah, guys, I'll go ahead and tell you, Matt is actually broadcasting live on his TikTok right now. So if you hear Matt chime in, it sounds like he's not talking to me. You know, he's thanking some of his followers. How many followers do you have on TikTok right now, Matt?
like 5,100. I started just, you know, 2 months ago. I started taking it serious. You know, just putting in time, you know, the chatting here. They super supportive. Always come in, check up on me. I mean, you've been in my lives, you know what I mean? I
Yeah. Oh,
conversate
yeah.
with any, you know, and that's cool. That's the cool thing about traveling on the road. You can just meet different fans and, you know, just have a good time. It's more than football, you know what I mean? I like going down there, making connections with other team fans.
Yeah.
Just going down there for the tailgate experience, see how the other teams do it. I think that's a good, you know, thing for sure. And a lot of people, you know, not a lot of people, some people just go a little overboard. I'm there chilling, having a good time, soaking up the, you know, different environments there. So I think that's a really good, you know, thing to do.
Yeah, we got our first comment of the night. Leprechaun Jackson. Hey, Stevie. I think I know who this is under a different name. How you doing, girl? Glad you came in and checked us out today. Um, so you said your earliest memory was a 4-year-old going to your first game. Uh,
Yeah.
so that was 22 years ago. So that was
Yep.
pre Ben. That was probably like Tommy Maddox time there. Yeah, see, I've been a fan for 45 years. I've been a fan since I was almost like you were at 4 years old,
Pretty much
5
the
years
same
old.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years old. You know, I'm in North Carolina, so back in it, you didn't have cable, you didn't have the internet. You got like the games on Sunday. You got like 2 games maybe, and then you got the Monday night game. And being in North Carolina, we got a lot of Washington games. So, but Pittsburgh was on there, some on the NBC channels. I get to see them. The rest of my family were Redskin fans. My mom, my dad. Somehow, me and my cousin, we were like 2 weeks apart in age. We went to Steelers. We stuck with the Steelers. I mean, we were getting. I still have the old somewhere over there. Yeah, over there. The old Steelers.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that towel, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm jealous of that one.
Yeah. Well, you can't see from my virtual background. I had to take the virtual background off in a minute, but I've still got the old back from the early '80s. Sears would sell like a Steelers. They would sell all the NFL teams. You have a helmet, you'd have a jersey, you'd have pants, shoulder pads, little kids shoulder pads. I've still got my Steelers helmet over here from Sears. You had to put the number you wanted on there. Of course, I'll have to. You'll hear when I talk about my favorite Steeler, who I had up there. But yeah, we had a little mini locker back in the day. That was cool to have. But yeah, my life revolved around at that time the rock group Kiss, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Star Wars. That was the only 3 things in my life at that time. So yeah, that was usually what I was wearing or what I was thinking about at that age. But so you start off in like 2002. What did you think? I mean, you said you went to a lot of games. What was your favorite game that you've ever went to as far as going to Heinz Field?
So my favorite game was, I know you remember this. It was Steelers versus the Texans when Antonio Brown was on the team. Brett Kiesel got the pick 6 against the Texans.
Steelers.
Yeah. So I actually, where did I put that? I actually got a football from the game. I don't know where it's at. Somewhere. Oh, here it is. I actually got a football from Antonio Brown right here. Check this
Oh,
out.
really?
Yeah,
Wow. That's awesome, dude.
yeah. So I got that from him. CC with the team bracelets. Appreciate you. What up, Paw Paw?
Yeah,
I
and
don't know if we're taking it.
the memorabilia. I mean, and I've got like I've got 3 terrible towels over there. This is just my favorite one because they gave it to me with the Super Bowl, some of the Super Bowl logos on it. Some mini helmets autographed. I think I've got Kirkland, Levon Kirkland. I've got Bradshaw, Cower, Polamalu. I got an autographed ball by Polamalu, and some other stuff over there. But one of my greatest treasures over there. I've got 2 Big Ben rookie cards over there.
Oh, do you? That's
yeah,
sick.
yes, I do. Now, I know you've got a lot more memorabilia than it. What's your favorite piece of memorabilia you got? Is it that ball or is it something else?
The football's up there for sure. I also got a signed Troy Polamalu jersey. I got a couple Big Ben jerseys. The football's up there for sure. I also got Hines Ward practice gloves right here.
Oh, wow. Did you go to Latrobe to the practices?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Gotta be awesome, dude. I live, living in North Carolina. I can't get up there much with my work schedule, but I would love and actually my sister-in-law used to live up there. My brother was living up there for a time, but they moved back down here to North Carolina. So hopefully one day I'll get up there to some practices and stuff, be able to do that. Let's talk about Super Bowls. So 2002, were you aware much about the history of the Steelers, like the 70s teams, the 4 Super Bowls?
Oh, my bad.
Right.
Amy, appreciate the roses, by the way. Sorry. Chat's going crazy. Yeah, I really wasn't super aware of it at a younger age, but like as I grew up and like did a little research of our Super Bowls, I wish I'd have, been alive during the 70s for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that being a Steelers fan, I got to see 2 Super Bowls. Awesome to watch them on TV. I didn't go to the games, of course, just because Super Bowl tickets are ridiculous. Yeah, they're absolutely insane. Heath, appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. But yeah, I really wanted to meet Franco Harris. Like that was one guy that it was on my bucket list, and just hearing stories because I actually worked down there for him.
Okay.
Working there for the Steelers. I've been doing that for 5 years. So just hearing stories from other coworkers that work down there, like just saying Franco's a good guy, just made me like upset whenever he passed. And I'm a Lakers fan. I know this is all Steelers, but when Kobe passed, them 2 deaths, those are 2 icons, for both organizations, and that's who I like. So
yeah, the thing what we had done, I'd actually done a podcast. It was the Wednesday. I think Franco passed maybe on a Thursday. The night before, we were talking about and a person that came in, comes in and comments a lot. He was talking about Franco, and the next day he texted me. He said, "You're not going to believe what's going on," and he told me, and I was like, "Oh no, don't even tell me that." And yeah, I mean, you see that. Were you at the game, the Raiders game after Franco passed?
I was, when it was negative 5 degrees.
Yes,
yeah, I was at that game. I was working that game actually, and I walked out. I walked out and with just a polo on. I'm like, man, it's cold out here today. It was cold. I thought I was gonna get frostbite. So
what do you do? You say you work down there. What do you do down there for them?
Yeah, so I do sale, I do security. I do retail and cash register. So I'm like a utility guy down there. I do a little bit of
Okay.
everything. So yeah, I'm, super blessed for the opportunity. I actually got hired on the spot at training camp, believe it or not, which is another
Oh,
crazy
wow.
story. So I
So
was
you're
going as
around
a
there
fan
all
the
the
one.
time.
Yeah, I used to whenever I was right before I graduated high school, I used to always go over to training camp like every day. Um, and that was what I used to do. That was my vacation. Forget the beach, forget, going out and seeing friends. I'm going to Steelers training camp today. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that would go at 5 o'clock in the morning and training camp don't start till 3 p.m. I'm that guy. I'm sitting out 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. I'm going out, super early. People are waiting. I was that guy that just sat there and waited. Um, and that's part of the reason, that I've been successful in getting stuff done, um, getting stuff signed and stuff because, I put in the extra time, you know what I mean? I wanted to make sure I was first in line. Um, and I've also had a great experience at training camp where I'm just chilling. Tim and Cody, appreciate you guys talking by. I'm on a podcast right now. Make sure you check him out. Stevie Flythe on StreamYard. Make
Yeah,
sure you guys check him out. That's where I'm not really reading the chat today. We're doing a little podcast today. So I appreciate all you guys stopping by. But yeah, like I was saying, I used to go so early over there and people are like, "Oh, there's Matt again. He's first three in line." You know what I mean? There's some people literally that put out tents there and just sat there, lawn chairs. We get a lawn chairs. We make a little circle, and we would just conversate and talk football. Um, and ever since I got the job, I really didn't go over, as a fan because it's kind of in my contract that I can't really be a fan.
right.
So yeah. But I go during the games. I go out there, watch a quarter live. I'm on the away side, so it's pretty cool. If I go back at it, would I have said no to the job? Absolutely not. You know what I mean?
All right. Good
Just
Lord.
working for the Steelers organization. It's a good time. I get to go to all the games. I get to watch
Yeah.
a quarter live, and I get to talk to Steelers Nation, so it's pretty cool.
That's cool. That is awesome, dude. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, which are the two Super Bowls you saw? I think I know the answer to this. Which one was your favorite Super Bowl out of the two?
I have to go Super Bowl 43 easily. Just James Harrison, the pick six. I got a signed jersey of him, by the way,
Yeah.
too. But just the pick six at the end of the half there. You know what I mean? Him running, him laying on the field, just out of oxygen. He's out of gas. And then that pass in the corner of the end zone. I still don't think many quarterbacks could make that play. That was just the craziest, like one of the craziest passes I've ever seen.
And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. Ben does not get enough credit for being one of the great quarterbacks of his era. Just like you said, not many quarterbacks could put that ball where it did. And Ben, look at all he had 500-yard games. What was it, like 2 or 3 in a row? One year he had 500-yard games or 400-yard games. Ben just didn't get the credit that he deserved for his career. He didn't get mentioned with the Brady's, with the Breeze, with Manning. He didn't get mentioned up there like he should have.
Yeah. I just think part of that is like there were so many good quarterbacks during that time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the analysts back then were actually more legit than they are now. You know what I mean? There's the analysts now these days they're just, whoever's doing good, we're going to jump on the bandwagon. You know what I mean? Like, prime example, I love Stephen A. Smith, but.
You froze up on us a little, Matt. Hope we didn't lose Matt. Maybe he'll come back in a second. So he was talking about Stephen A. Smith, and I'm sure, Stephen A. Smith will jump on a bandwagon in a heartbeat, and that's just the way he is. But talking about the Steelers, you guys, if you haven't looked at the Final Score podcast before, some of the Steelers that I have interviewed up here, and I was going to let Matt know about it. Go back in time, and it's been a while since I've had a Steeler on here. I think the last one was maybe last year. I need to work on that and get some more up here. Yeah, it looks like Matt's gone. We'll hopefully get him back. And of course, the biggest name I've interviewed up here, Rod Woodson, the Hall of Famer, unfortunately won a Super Bowl he got his Super Bowl with Baltimore. Let me see if he's messaging me on here, guys. Excuse me 1 second. Let's see if he's nope. But Rod Woodson, Ernie Mills, who made that big catch to set up the winning touchdown in the 1995 AFC Championship game against the Colts. Ernie Mills with that. Craig Wolfley, who played offensive line in the 80s with the Steelers and works for the Steelers at broadcasting. Just a great interview I had with him. Richard Shelton, who played in the secondary for the Steelers in the 90s, wasn't there long, but he was there long enough to make an impact. And he actually was the one who set me up with Rod Woodson as far as getting the interview with Rod Woodson. Checking my messages to see if Matt's having problems. Let's see. Not really new anymore, but the newest Hall of Famer that I've had on here, Mr. Donnie Shell, who was such an integral part in the secondary for the Steelers back in the day in the 70s, the Steel Curtain. Chad Brown. Here comes Matt back. Well, I hope he's back. We'll see if he comes. There he goes. He's back.
Hey guys, I'm gonna get off here though. I'm gonna talk to him. I'm gonna get a couple videos for the page. Just stay tuned whenever we start talking. He's on StreamYard, Stevie FLYTHE. If you guys want to watch me, his @ is the Final Score 73. Make sure you guys stay tuned there. I'm gonna post some good clips. I'm gonna put them on the page. I'm gonna tag him. So make sure you guys show him some love. I appreciate everybody stopping by, but I'm going to get this going. I'm going to get some videos for you guys. So sorry about that. My internet I don't know what happened, but I might get on a little later for you guys. All right. You guys have a good one. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine, but it happens. It happens. Believe me, it's happened to me before. Hopefully it didn't just happen again to you. There you go.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
Now, while you were gone, I was just running down the list of Steelers that we've had on the show before. I don't know I was starting off as Rod Woodson has been on the show. Don't know if you remember Ernie Mills, who.
Okay. Yeah.
Ernie Mills was the one back in 95 in the AFC Championship game who made that catch to set up Bam Morris's game-winning touchdown. Craig Wolfley, who works for the Steelers now and broadcasting, played back in the day. Richard Shelton, who is not real well known, but played in the secondary back in the 90s for the Steelers, and actually was the one that got me hooked up with Rod Woodson. And the next one I'm talking about, Donnie Shell, who was on the Steel Curtain, Hall of Famer. Chad Brown, who was a big time on defense. I actually had him and his teammate Levon Kirkland on at the same time. They shared memories back and forth. Levon actually was the first Steeler that I interviewed. I remember sending, I was just starting the podcast, and looking on social media, and I was finding Steelers, and I was like, I'm gonna, what can it hurt? The worst they can tell me is no. So I sent
Yeah.
him a message, and about 2 hours later, I hear the notification. I look, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be glad to do it." And I'm like, "Holy crap!" You talking about? And Levon was so great. I mean, he told a lot of stories. I didn't have to do a lot, just to ask a question. He would elaborate a lot. Uh, Craig Colquitt, who was the punter for a couple of the 70 Super Bowls team. Garrett Webster, Mike Webster's son. We got to talk to him a little bit. Brendan Stye, who was a offensive lineman back in the 90s. Jim Wexell, he's a beat reporter for the Steelers, wrote the Polamalu book, which is great. And then George Jones, who played running back for the Steelers back in the 90s. But yeah, so what we were talking about, we're talking about Ben and how you were talking about Stephen A. Smith. That was where we left off about the analyst. Or what was your thought? You were talking about Stephen A. Smith.
I mean, I like him. He likes the Steelers and all, but
Oh yeah,
whenever they're doing good, he's on them. But as soon as they start doing bad, he's just like bashing them nonstop.
bandwagon.
You know, yeah. I no, don't get me wrong. I get upset when we're playing bad too, but
Oh,
I
I do
don't take
too.
it to the extreme where we're just like, come on, like what are we doing? I say what are we doing, and that's about it. I'm like, yeah, we need to get rid of this guy, this guy, this guy. And sure enough, this offseason they actually did, which was awesome.
Oh, I know
Presley
which two you're
Harvin, Mitch,
talking about.
yeah, Dan Moore, or not Dan Moore, Chooks Okorafor for just,
Yeah, yeah.
cap casualties or guys that are underperforming. So, yeah, I'm going to try to go live again. I'm going to try to get you some
Okay,
followers here.
you're
So I'm
fine,
going to
bro.
try it one more time. If it starts doing some craziness here, then we're going to have to call it for this because I don't want to keep crashing and doing this to your
I
show.
got you, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find this real quick. But yeah, I got, like I said, I got. Hold on, I'm putting this on. Putting this on. The Matt Canada special here.
Oh
There you
Lord,
go.
Matt Canada. Lord, I thought we were through with the Matt Canada stuff. Come on now, that's the name we don't. That's almost like mentioning Neil O'Donnell's name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Woo. Let me tell you, dude. I
Yeah.
remember watching that game, that Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys, and all week long, or the 2 weeks, I had just heard about Cowboys fans everywhere talking trash to me. We're gonna dominate y'all, and all this stuff, and and we got once they went up 10-0, and then we came back and got back in the game. That onside kick that Kyle called was like ballsy. I mean, and I was like, we're gonna come back and win this game. But then Neil O'Donnell, I still think Jerry Jones bought him some oil wells down in Dallas and paid him off, because I've never seen a quarterback 2 times throw it to the same guy, and I mean threw it right to him on the other team. I was not devastated, but I felt like the next year we could have come back and done something, but it just didn't work out. But all right, coaches, who's your favorite Steelers coach?
I would have to go Bill Cowher.
That's me.
Just for the fact that, like, I don't know, he didn't take any of this extra stuff that Mike Tomlin's dealing with now. And, I felt like he was all about business. I can't really say Chuck Noll because, like I said, that's out of my time, out of my era. But I miss Bill Cowher, you know what I mean? I feel like it was the Steelers' way or no way whenever he was on the field. Mike Tomlin just kind of lets the guys, get on TikTok or what I mean, just do what they want. He's a good coach, don't get me wrong.
Right, I
but
agree.
It's just he lets his players do a little extra, and I just feel like they're doing enough just to have winning seasons, so it keeps bringing us the fans back. But I feel like we're getting tired of that. You know what I mean? We're known for winning Super Bowls. And these last 7, 8, or 8 years, especially
Yeah.
Green Bay. I mean, that was a prime example of just us not, executing. Just having players I don't know what they were doing. It's annoying.
Well,
But
the bad thing about it, as bad as we didn't execute that game, if Mendenhall doesn't fumble, we've got a chance to win that game.
oh yeah, 100%.
That's how bad it was. So you say you go to a lot of games, and everybody knows one of probably the best rivalry in football is the Steelers-Ravens rivalry. Any memorable moments that at a Ravens game?
So I went to the Steelers-Ravens game when the Ravens benched their starters, and down in M&T Bank this year, actually.
Oh yeah, I did see.
Week.
I saw you had some stuff up there. About
Yeah,
that.
so I went there. You know what I mean? It was awesome. I dressed up, full Steelers gear, head to toe. I didn't wear the cleats that game. I ended up wearing them in Buffalo, which I regret that. That playoff game, just how cold it was and all the snow. But yeah, I just say the Ravens fans, people are like, Ravens fans, they're not, you can't get along with them. It felt like it was a home game to me. You know what I mean? I just
really?
Out there, Ravens fans wanting to take pictures with me, and I never thought I'd see that a day in my life. But I had at least a handful of Ravens fans come up to me. Hey, do you care if I take a picture with you? I said, no, come on, let's go.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I did that. And then in the stadium, I had Ravens fans give me shots of alcohol, so that was pretty cool too. And that's what yeah. I would
you got to go to the Buffalo game.
I did.
Yeah, How was that? I mean, that was crazy, dude. Because I mean, the weather, the delay, and everything. How was that weekend for you?
So, I actually drove down the morning of the game, so I didn't experience the 2.5 feet of snow that they got. I believe it or not, I left at 3:00 in the morning. I went down there no sleep because my adrenaline was so, adrenaline was going crazy. I actually was live on TikTok the morning of, had a shovel in my car showing people like I'm going. They're like, no, you're not. I said, all right, you'll find out and see. And yeah, I bought my ticket, 50-yard line, dead center, like 20 rows up for $199. I thought that was pretty good.
That is that's great
for a playoff game. I mean, you can't really beat that.
Yeah,
so I went. It was a great experience. Buffalo Bills fans, they were awesome. Out of all the tailgates I went to this year, I'd say the Buffalo Bills tailgates was unmatched, just because like you had people jumping through tables. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had the Bills fans. I had so many Bills fans like taking pictures with me. Then I went live on my page. I had 900 people in the room. It was incredible. Yeah. That's when I started to believe, hey, let me just do this, see where it takes me. And, my chat's been really showing out for me ever since, which I'm trying to get back on my thing right now. But yeah, it was an incredible experience for sure. I'm trying to get this back up so they can see this. But
so how many away games did you go to this year besides Baltimore and Buffalo?
So I went to the Bengals game and I went to the Rams game in LA.
So you went all the way to LA? Wow.
Yeah, my buddy lives in LA. He lives in San Diego, so I had to get a ticket. I had to see that because everyone says SoFi is one of the best stadiums and like for the view and everything, and they're absolutely right. I didn't get there till like an hour prior to the game, so I got my drinks in before the game, did a little mini tailgate, and then I went in there, and great experience. The view was awesome.
And the game,
I definitely go back.
Pretty good.
Yeah, the game was good. The only game that we lost that I went to this year on the road was the playoff game, so that was kind of a bummer. But I mean, it is what it is. The experience made up for it. Like I said, I didn't have to pay for no food in the stadium, which is always a plus.
Oh yeah,
15-20 bucks for a little thing of nachos and a drink. You know what I mean? They get their money for sure. So,
no doubt
but
about
yeah,
that. All right, so let's get right into it here. I don't know if you've got a list or what, but like your top 10 favorite Steelers of all time. We'll go for we don't want to start off with your favorites. We'll start off with, and I don't want to call it your least favorite either, but who would be your 10 on that list of your 10 favorite Steelers of all time?
no, this is in no order. I would go Antonio Brown, just because like I've had such a great connection with him at training camp. I have 4 signed jerseys of him.
Yeah, and I hate, because I was listening to an old episode that we did back when I first started. We did top 10 Steelers, and Brown was on my list, but and I just always go back to my favorite memory of him. It wasn't the AFC Championship game, but the divisional round, and I think it may have been the year we lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl against Baltimore. That big third and long play where he catches the ball down the field with the ball up against his helmet and keeps 2 feet in bounds, and then sets up the winning score against Baltimore. That's got to be. I mean, there's so many, and of course the Christmas Eve night where he extends the ball over and beats Baltimore. But yeah,
Yeah.
Antonio, I just hate things ended up the way they did with Antonio, because Antonio was on pace to be not only one of the greatest Steelers ever, but one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of the game.
Oh yeah. I've met Antonio Brown like numerous times, ever since he's been a rookie. I really enjoyed, meeting him all those times. I chased him down on a golf cart, when I was younger, to get my jersey signed. I made a sign AB for president. He signed that. Yeah, like I used to be like one of the biggest Antonio Brown fans that you've known. And just to see, the hit, just to see how his career ended up, transpiring. I'd say a generational talent for sure. If he didn't deal with that head injury, CTE, for sure. Just a shame, man. Like, I'd say a top 3 receiver of all time if he didn't get hurt. You know what I mean?
That hit that Burfict put on him, I think everything changed after the Burfict hit, for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sure. And that was a crazy, crazy night that night. I remember that night very well. You go from one extreme to the other and then back again, and we win the game. But yeah, self-destruction of the Bengals. But yeah, so okay, Antonio Brown up there. So who's next?
I would have to go Big Ben, even though he wasn't the greatest to me off the field. I didn't really care for him off the field, but on the field, you got to give him respect where it's due, for sure. Really good player, you know what I mean? But he just wasn't really a people's person, if that makes sense. You probably hear stories about it all the time. You know what I mean? You've interviews about him and this and that and the third. So, I'd have to say Big Ben, just because like I grew up watching him all these years. And even though he wasn't great to me off the field, I still got his signatures, but it was a pain to get it, for sure. But I'd say Big Ben.
Big Ben coming around, I'll tell you this, as an older fan, from 1981 when Bradshaw retired, and we were looking for the quarterback to take his place, and gosh, we suffered through some doozies too, dude. I'm talking Mark Malone, David Woodley, Bubby Brister, which some of these guys, none of them that I disliked. Cordell was there, Kent Graham, Neil O'Donnell, gosh knows who, Mike Tomczak, and I'm trying to think of who the other one was that I keep forgetting. Okay, Tommy Maddox. So, I mean, we suffered through some, not bad quarterback play, but not Super Bowl caliber quarterback play till Ben gets there. And I'll tell you this, I always watch the draft, and I do my mock drafts every year. That year,
Yeah.
I was actually hoping we were going to get Phillip Rivers. I'm a North Carolina guy. I'm not a NC State fan, but I'd watch Rivers play. And I was like, if we get Phillip Rivers, we'll be all right. And then when we draft him, I was like, what the heck is a Roethlisberger? And he goes on that monumental rookie season and into the playoffs and stuff. And I was like, wow, hopefully we're back on track now. And I hope it's not that big a gap between 81 and 2004. 23 years that we find the next quarterback to take us to a Super Bowl. Hope it doesn't take that long because I may not be around that long. So
yeah, you never know. Tomorrow's no promise for sure. You just never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So who's next after Ben?
Oh man, I have to go Troy Polamalu. I have a crazy story for you about Troy. Yeah. So I actually have a signed jersey of Troy Polamalu. I was at the night practice, and I just randomly stood along the fence. You know how everyone has to sign for 15 minutes. I randomly just stood at the fence. I'm just like, please, Troy, I have your jersey. Like, I'm saying this in my head the whole time. I'm like, please, Troy, please come to me and sign this jersey for me. And he walks over. I'm like, oh, no, here we go. Next thing you know, big swarm of fans, like probably 500, 600 fans swarming around me. I'm like, oh, Lord. I was like, oh, goodness sakes. And, I got the jersey, but as I'm trying to get my jersey signed, I have my, I'm like this, hold my hand over the thing, over the fence, and my face gets shoved literally into the steel fence. And those steel fences are durable. Yeah, those are super durable. And I got literally shoved into the fence. My face was like caving the fence in pretty much. And I got my Troy jersey signed, and I was like, hey, please let me out. Please let me out. Like, you guys can have my spot. I'm just trying to get out. You know what I mean? Because 15 minutes, you don't got much time. You got to get moving. Like, you get a cardio workout while you're at the night practice, because if you want somebody, you got to go to them. They're not moving. You know what I mean? So it took me like 7, 8 minutes just to get out of that area. And, but it's all good. I mean, I got my Troy jersey signed. That's the main thing I went for. And it's only $5 to get in. So, just to see the fireworks and everything, and having the players sign and seeing their families there, I thought that was really cool. And Troy's a good guy. I met his brother or cousin, Kyle Polamalu.
Oh, yeah.
I met him. He was trying to buy jerseys for when Troy was at the game because they didn't bring them. So, Troy definitely got a special place in my heart. One of the, I'd say, top 3 safeties of all time for sure.
Definitely. I've got a autographed mini helmet and a ball from Troy, but I mean, this guy comes out of USC, and you're like, who in the heck is it? They trade up to get him, and the Steelers don't trade up many times to get guys, but they trade up to get him, and I was like, okay, what are we doing here? And man, just a Hall of Fame career for sure. Like you said, one of the best safeties ever played a game. And I just remember there's so many highlight Troy Polamalu plays. But that interception against San Diego, where even the announcers, after they watched it again, they were like, that's going to get overturned. That's going to get overturned. But then they're watching the slow motion. They were like, he got his hand under the ball. He got his hand under the ball.
Yeah, you're talking about the Chargers-Steelers game. That was insane.
Were you there at training camp when the guy dressed up like Troy and got out on the field?
Are you talking about mascot Troy?
No, I don't know if it was mascot Troy or not. Whoever the guy was had the uniform and everything on and got out on the training camp. Is that who that was?
No. So I don't know who that was, but there is a guy that dresses up as a mascot, Troy, and he's
Okay.
been doing that for like 14, 15 years. He's actually trying to get me to take over what he does,
Oh,
and
really?
well, I'm not going to be Troy. He wants me to be mascot Brett Kiesel. So
The beard.
just
Yeah,
because
you definitely pull it off.
but I'm not a huge picture guy, so like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's gonna want pictures. I gotta get the helmet, the shoulder pads, and the leg pads, and I literally have everything
Okay.
for the whole outfit. But it's just like I don't know
Yeah,
if I want to go that route because
that's
everyone's
something to
gonna be
think
like, "Oh, can I
about.
get a picture?"
Well, yeah, something to think about, dude. That would definitely boost
Yeah.
your TikTok stuff there for sure. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
all right, after Troy, who's next?
Uh, I'd have to go Franco Harris, and I don't have like stories like you do.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? Because you got to watch him play.
Yeah.
So I just go Franco because you know
Oh, yeah.
I'd say the best running back we've had,
Yes,
for
definitely.
sure. And it's a shame I didn't get to watch him play growing up. I mean, I wasn't even born yet, but just the impact he had on the organization. Just the stories of people meeting him. Heard he's a great guy off the field, and he was good on the field. So I definitely would put Franco on there for sure.
Yeah, and I used to catch the devil from people back in the day when I was a kid when Franco was playing, because all these other fans would talk about of other teams talk about, well, he runs away from contact. He's scared. He runs out of bounds. And I was like, he's saving himself. He's keeping himself from trying to keep himself from getting hurt. He'll get
Yeah.
17 yards. If he gets 17 yards and runs out of bounds, so oh well. But one of the saddest days in Steeler history for me was when he left after the contract dispute and ends up going to Seattle. And you talk about players that do not look right in any other jersey but the team they started with. If you've never seen Franco Harris in a Seattle Seahawks jersey, it is a sad sight to see. And he wasn't wearing 32; he wore number 34. I remember watching him. They were playing the Redskins that year, and I remember watching him. I just walked away. I was like, this just isn't right. And fortunately, he didn't. I think he stayed with the Seahawks for a year, and he ends up retiring. But yeah, Franco was so awesome, and it's so great to watch him and Rocky Bleier in that backfield. Uh, man, that Steelers group of the '70s was loaded with weapons.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I said, I really wish I'd got to meet Franco before he passed. Just
That was
because of like all the off the field stories I've heard about him. 100%.
seemed to be a great guy. So who you have out to Franco?
Um, hmm, I would go. Let me think here. I go Bradshaw. I go Terry Bradshaw too.
Yeah.
As well. Just because like his numbers weren't like, oh my goodness, they're good. It wasn't like a Mahomes. It wasn't like a Tom Brady. It was just enough to get him into the playoffs, and the dude knew how to win in the big games, and he'd do just enough for them to win. And that's something we're lacking these days for sure.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? He knew how to win. He didn't put up he only had what 1 or 2 300-yard games in his career, something
Yeah.
super low.
If
So
you
I mean, you
look,
got to give him where it's due.
you go back and look, he didn't have the greatest regular season stats, but when crunch time came in the playoffs, Bradshaw put out. I mean,
Yeah,
300-yard games in the Super Bowls. I know he did against Dallas. I'm pretty sure he did it against the Rams. And Bradshaw's problem was Bradshaw was a gunslinger, and Chuck Noll and him just clashed because of that. Chuck Noll was like, okay, this is the offense we run. We want to do this. We want to do this. But Bradshaw was trying. He's like, okay, if I see that guy, he's got this much of a window up there, I'm going to rifle it in there to him, and I'm going to try to to make him make it a touchdown. Yeah, his stats weren't the greatest, but I mean, the first quarterback to win 4 Super Bowls, definitely on my list is one of my favorite. I mean, and you think about it. I told somebody the other day talking about Pickett, which I'm on the fence about Pickett now. I'm really on the fence, but if you go back and look at Bradshaw's first few years in Pittsburgh, they almost ran him out of Pittsburgh. I mean, it wasn't good. He got benched. Joe Gilliam was starting over him, and luckily Bradshaw got it straightened out, and he goes on to a Hall of Fame career, 4 Super Bowls. So never say never with somebody like with some of these quarterbacks. So you don't know. Pickett may end up being the one. I don't know about that, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody else after Bradshaw?
James Harrison. I'd have to put him on the list. Yeah, even though he did us dirty in the back part of his career going to New England, I did not like that at all. You got to give him respect where it's due. The guy was a tank. I mean, he could cover pretty well. The dude could pass. He could get to the quarterback for sure. Pass rushing was good. And I felt like he was a leader on that defense, 100%. I mean, his work ethic, the dude, he's a tank. I mean, you don't see many players that are built like
he still is. He
really
still is. Do you ever watch or listen to Ben's podcast?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've seen it.
When he was up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I've seen the
awesome.
I'm not a big fan of Ben's podcast just because, I don't know if he feels some type of way of the Steelers letting him go when he wanted to play 1 or 2 more years. But I was a believer that they should have got rid of him around when Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes was there.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? You could tell he was declining, and it just hurt to watch Ben play the last 2 or 3 years of his career because you could tell he wasn't the same anymore. You know what I mean? The dude would play with a broken nose. His nose is on the side of his face.
Yeah, that last year especially was kind of tough. I think it really but you know what? I'll say this. People were talking about the offense, and you go back and look at it. We had Canada at offensive coordinator. And I go back and look to the Colts game from Ben's last year. We're down at halftime, and we're throwing these little dink and dunks, these short passes, where defenses are sitting at, cornerbacks are sitting there waiting for your receiver to get to that spot every time, and they're still going there. The second half of that game was totally different. I don't know if Ben was calling it or what. They opened it up. Ben started throwing long. We come back and beat the Colts that year. So, I mean, I know Ben was going downhill, but I think, as much as we said Matt Canada was a problem with Pickett, I think Matt Canada may have had a problem with that year too with Ben, for sure.
Yeah, I just don't understand that hiring to begin with. Matt Canada couldn't even finish a regular season in college with LSU. You know what I mean? Why are you bringing him in? That is just horrible. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make no sense. It really doesn't.
I met Matt Canada at it was a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event. They had his coach. He was actually one of the offensive coaches at NC State, and the head coach couldn't make it, so they sent Canada. And you talk about not very personable, but I never thought in a million years when I saw him that night. That was probably 4 or 5 years before he came to Pittsburgh. I never thought that night he would be the offensive coordinator with the Steelers. But I didn't understand. I didn't understand that hire as well. It was really confusing to me. But I'm glad to see he's gone, to tell you the truth.
Oh,
all right. Any more after who did we say last?
Hines Ward.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Hines Ward comes out of nowhere, a special teams guy, and ends up being, maybe the greatest receiver at stat wise, one of the greatest in Pittsburgh Steelers history. So I mean, I
Yeah,
remember he came to Pittsburgh. What number was he wearing the first year he came? It wasn't 86.
19. Oh,
Yeah,
15, 15,
15. He was
15.
not wearing
Yep.
86 that year because he was a special teams guy, and that's how he made his name. Was on special teams, and one of the best blocking wide receivers you'll ever see.
And he always had a smile on his face. He looked like he wanted to be there all the time.
Let me
What
tell
I
you,
mean? And
one of my favorite Steelers games of all time, and I think it might have been. The year is maybe wrong. 2007, I believe, Monday Night Football, Steelers versus Ravens, and that night
yep.
they had some of the old regime back in there, and I think there was a lightning storm. It thundered and lightning right before the game, so they come back out, and that was James Harrison's night. But let me tell you, Hines Ward put a shot on I forgot who it was from Baltimore that night, but he put a shot on him that had Bradshaw over there on the sidelines just laughing and pointing like, oh my gosh. I'll never forget that. That is one. And actually, I'm working on getting some of those clips up on my TikTok. Hopefully, that'll be up in the next week or so. But yeah, Hines Ward, you can't say enough about the guy. He left a lot of his, I mean, blood and sweat and tears and body parts out on Heinz Field. I mean, Hines Ward playing at Heinz Field, it's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever get to meet him?
I have. He did I think it was an event at Penn State when he did a motivational speech.
Uh-huh.
I was one out of like three, I want to say 2,000 to 3,000 people to get my to get an autograph from him because they were telling me he's not signing. I was like, watch me get him. I'm gonna get him. Watch this. And I ran onto the stage afterwards. He's like, I'm really not supposed to do this, but I got you. And he signed my terrible towel.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I got lucky. I actually did a giveaway to one of my supporters a while back when I first started. He's a mod in my chat. I gave away a Hines Ward signed jersey because his dad was a big Hines Ward guy. So,
oh wow,
I mean, that was tough. That was tough to get rid of for sure.
Tough to get away from.
Yeah. Me, I got like 50 some Steeler jerseys. They're all stitched. So I can't do the screen print, man. No offense to anybody out there. It's got to be stitched or it's no way I'm buying it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Hines, any more after Hines now? Look, there's one out there. There's one I'm thinking about right now that I want to see if you say it, but I'm thinking you're a big fan of, but I hadn't heard you say it yet. But we'll see if you say it.
Oh man, I think I know who. You gotta say it. You gotta say it
Kiesel. I mean, you're wearing the stuff, Brett Kiesel.
Yeah, Brett Kiesel. Funny story about him. I actually was at camp and I seen him on a golf cart, and I'm like coming down to go up to eat dinner. Up at the facility. And I'm like, come on, Brett, one time. Come on, dude. He came over. He signed like my jersey and two other people's. And then he hit the dash because everybody was running over.
Yeah, everybody was coming.
Yeah. Brett Kiesel, really good guy. After I got my signed jersey, I left him alone. You know what I mean? That made my whole
yeah, I would have too.
I'm very underrated for sure. You know what I mean? He underappreciated. I feel like he didn't get the recognition he deserved. And I get a lot of people that come into my lives actually on TikTok say I look like him kind of. So
that's what I was saying, dude. That's what I was saying. You got the look.
Yeah, and I get people like, oh, we'll get you 10,000 likes, shave the beard. I say, no, I can't. You know what I mean? I didn't know I could grow a beard like this since like 2 years ago. So,
I had one. I've let it grow out before, but I've never been never had long enough where I could get it out like you got it.
Yeah, my biggest thing is I use coconut oil, like the coconut oil. That's what I use on mine. So, I didn't know that. My buddy told me a couple years back. He's like, "Hey, try this," and I tried it. And ever since, I'm just like, "Oh, I'm gonna let it grow out," and it grew out like this. So I just been rocking it since. But I don't get me wrong. I've went baby face a couple times, and I can't do that. I can't. Even during the summer, I'm gonna let it grow. Like I'm gonna let it go like this. I'm letting it grow.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you. Especially if you're thinking about doing the whole
yeah,
Brett
the
Keith
mascot thing. Yeah, I want to do it, but at the same time, it's just like, I want to go to a game and I want to tailgate. I don't want to be taking pictures the whole time while I'm there. You know what I mean? I like taking pictures sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think Kiesel, I'll say this about Kiesel. There was one year where he almost signed with Arizona and he changed his mind and came back. Because I was like, that would be a huge loss for us. I mean, because you had some great defensive linemen that don't get enough credit. I don't think, well, they get credit, but you hear about the Polomalos, you hear about the Joey Porters, you hear about the secondary guys, some of those. You had Casey Hampton, you had Aaron Smith, you had Brett Kiesel, Lawrence Timmons. Yeah. I mean, those guys were. Yeah, I mean, those guys they played a big part in that defense being as dominant as it was.
Oh yeah, and going on to what you said about the Steelers-Ravens rivalry, it's still a rivalry, but it's not the same. It really isn't. I mean, yeah, the games are still close and all, but the hard hitting, where you can actually hit somebody, the blocking, you know what I mean? They play with purpose whenever, Troy, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Lodi Nada, Brett Kiesel, all those guys out there, James Harrison, they play with purpose. Now it's like it's just another standard game in my opinion, and the leagues has gone soft for sure. It's just you can't hit nobody anymore. They might as well get flags out there and play flag football at this point because I just, the views, I don't know how the views are the way they are. I'll be honest with you. Like when players are signing their contracts, they know the risks of injuries and stuff. So they're signing a contract, and when someone makes a good hit and they're getting fined for it, like what's up with that? You know what I mean?
Well, and now they're talking about banning that hip throw tackle. They're making that illegal now. So I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to tackle these guys anymore. You can't touch a quarterback, especially if they're one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. If you even breeze by them, you get a penalty sometimes. So I mean, I can tell you this: back in the day, if Jack Lambert was playing, good Lord, that guy would be. He already said that quarterbacks should wear skirts back in the day. So back then, so I don't know what he thinks now. All right, so I'm going to give you some on my list, and we'll see if what you think about him. Heath Miller was one of my favorites.
Heath Miller, I forgot him.
Yeah, Heath is quiet but gets the job done. I mean, and I remember when they drafted him out of Virginia, first round draft pick. That was the Super Bowl 2005 season, and man, he was such a big weapon for being Levon Kirkland. And I sat there and watched. Levon Kirkland was not your prototypical linebacker size. He was about 280, 290 pounds, and somehow that guy could run with a tight end and cover. I watched him against Baltimore on a Sunday night game. He went down the field. The Baltimore quarterback throws the ball, and you're like, "Oh God, this is not going to be good." Levon's running stride for stride with the tight end and comes up with the interception. And I told him on that interview, I was like, "That is one of the most memorable plays I'll always remember in Steelers history, just because your size and keeping up with that tight end." Of course, we mentioned Franco earlier. We talked about him. Another one we got to talk about is the bust, Jerome Bettis.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you ever had any time that you met Jerome, but he was built to be a Steeler. I watched him at Notre Dame in college, and when we did that draft day trade for him, oh man, I was like, this guy is definitely supposed to be a Steeler. You talked about being
this guy, right?
Uh-oh. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I told you guys he's got a little bit of everything back there. But yeah, but Bettis was and to see him go out the way he did, that was great. You talked about Ben earlier. Another one back from the 70s I'll talk about, Mike Webster.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he ever missed a game with Pittsburgh. There was a story going around that he was actually in the hospital the night before a game on Sunday and checked himself out Sunday morning and went to the stadium and suited up. That was back in the day when you didn't have to have injury reports and all this stuff. But yeah, Mike Webster just, one of probably the best offensive linemen Steelers ever had. Rod Woodson is next. That was the first Steelers jersey I ever bought. And Rob was just an athlete. I mean, to get the time, I'll tell you the story of actually how I got the interview with Rod. So I'm interviewing Richard Shelton, and it goes really well. I mean, Richard Shelton is talking to me, and he's talking about playing with Woodson and all this. And at the end of the interview, we're talking, and he said, look, he said, you're part of the family now. He said, you got my number. He said, you're part of the family. Whenever you want to call me. He said, I'll even hook you up with some of these Steelers players you want to get. I said, all right, I'm going to hold you to it. So after the interview was over, I said, you know what? I'm calling him back. And so I called back the first time and went straight to voicemail. I'm like, oh God. I was about to give up. So I called him again and it rings and he answers. He said, hey, bud. And I said, I just want to thank you for that interview. I appreciate you taking time out. And he said, yeah, no problem. He said, you remember we were talking about the getting some of those Steelers for you, right? And I was like, yeah. He said, well, I got one on the line with you right now. It's a 3-way call. I said, who? He said, Rod Woodson. I said, stop lying. And all of a sudden you hear Rod Woodson say, hey, buddy, how you doing? And I was like, is this really Rod Woodson? He said, well, that's what people call me. So I was talking and we ended up setting it up. He said, he's got, Richard's got your number, so we'll set something up. So I waited about 5 months. And then one morning I'm sitting there getting ready to get up for work about 5:30 in the morning. And my phone buzzes. And I look down and Rob Wilson's texting me. He said, hey, buddy, you still want to do that interview? And I was like, yeah, but I can't do it right now. And he's like, no. He said, we'll set something up. Awesome. But yeah, that was pretty great. You talked about Bradshaw earlier. Of course, he's up here on my list. And then Polamalu, from the start, I'm wearing his jersey. Even the Super Bowl against the Cardinals, Super Bowl 43, I went to a Super Bowl party. I found a black wig, and I wore the dreadlocks in the back like Polamalu. Yeah. But my favorite of all time, and Polamalu is probably like 1B. This one's 1A. He's going to pick up his Polamalu stuff now.
No, this is Kiesel though. There you go.
I hear.
There you go. Look.
I hear you, bud. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have many autograph jerseys. I've got some footballs, but my favorite of all time was Jack Ham. I've got a autographed Jack Ham, and actually, when I was talking about when I was a kid getting the helmet and putting the number on it, that was the number I put on. Was Jack Ham. He was my favorite of all time. So yeah, we're pretty close. Being that you weren't alive back in the 70s, didn't get to experience all that stuff. I think we're pretty close. I noticed.
Pretty close. I mean, 6 out of 10, I'd say 5 or 6
Yeah,
out of 10.
I'd probably say so. I mean, and a lot of this had to do. I didn't want to be too 70s because I could have put some more 70s guys up there. Like Franco's up there. I forgot we talked about Franco. James Harrison could have made my list. I mean, I've always loved James Harrison. Geez, there's so many. Chad Brown was one of my favorites. Of course, when Kevin Green played it, him and Greg Lloyd. Gosh knows who are some of the other. I'm trying to think of some of my unsung guys that I really like that didn't get a lot of airtime or anything. But I don't know who is gosh, what's his name? I'll think of it in a minute. But Ernie Mills was one. Tunch Ilkin.
Yeah.
I almost before Mr. Ilkin, unfortunately, Mr. Ilkin passed away. Before he got sick, we were working on an interview. We were working on setting up a time for the interview, and I was just I didn't have didn't want to bother him at what he was going through after that. But yeah. So before we get out of here, what's your outlook on this team for next year? And what do you think about the quarterback situation now? Because there's a lot of talk now, especially, okay, we're hearing Justin Fields, but now that Russell Wilson has been released by the Broncos, his name has popped up. Of course, it's always been there, but it's popped up even more now since he's been released by the Broncos. So, first of all, what do you think about the quarterback situation? We'll handle that one first.
I mean, I'm on the fence like you are. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to fully give up on Kenny Pickett just yet. I feel like he's kind of at a disadvantage with the offensive coordinator that we had. And then it's hard to transition into an intermediate offensive coordinator mid-season. He showed some promise, though, against the Bengals, which I was at that game in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I feel like his players didn't make the plays happen for him. Jaylen Warren fumbled the ball when they were in the red zone. And then you had Deontay Johnson dropping that touchdown in the back of the end zone, which, well, he didn't drop it. They said he didn't get both feet in, or he didn't make a football move. It was one of the two. Right. And I was booing because I knew that was a catch. By the way, the Jesse James against New England, that was a catch. Yeah, that was a catch. So that's how I felt about Deontay Johnson when they said that wasn't a catch. I thought that was 100% a football move. But, the league's just inconsistent with the calls. But going back to your question, I think the Steelers, I don't think Mason wants to be back there. I think they did Mason dirty twice. Just me personally. Just for the fact that the Steelers really wanted him, they would have already offered him a contract. Right. And they would have already made the move to bring him back, which, it is what it is. But I think the Steelers are going to either get Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. It's just a matter of, can we pull off a trade to get Justin Fields? I don't think so, because we did him dirty last year with, Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
We
made out really good with that, getting Porter Jr. out of that. That was just like having another first round pick.
Yeah, absolutely. But I see us drafting a quarterback in the later rounds too, just because like the draft is quarterback. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the draft. It's a heavy class for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think my opinion, if they're going to go after one of those two, I would prefer them go after Wilson, just because I don't want to give up draft capital. You could use a pick to get something else to help that team. We definitely need that center position filled. I like the kid from Oregon. If we can get, and from what I'm hearing, and I don't know since he's been cut, if that's the same or not, what I'm hearing, whoever picks up Wilson, the majority of his contract will be picked up by the Broncos if they pay him. But I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if that's changed since he got cut or not. So I'll have to see about that. Yeah, I just don't. One or the other. I don't know. I mean, Fields hasn't really. I know Fields has been in Chicago, but I haven't been impressed. I know everybody made him out like before the season started. This was going to be his year. He's going to be an MVP. This is going to be an MVP season for him. It didn't happen that way. It came nowhere near MVP season, but he put up numbers, and I don't know if a different situation he would be better. I'm hearing part of that package deal, if we were to do a trade, might be Deontay, which probably would be a good thing right now, being Deontay's contract years coming up. And I don't know about Deontay. I think he's kind of frustrated with Pittsburgh right now, and you don't want anything like that in the locker room. All right, coming up this year, your outlook for the next season. I know we haven't done the draft, free agent, or anything. What are you thinking Pittsburgh might be like next year?
I think they got a tougher schedule this year. I'll be honest with you. Last year, I felt like it was a not so tough schedule. You know, we had one of the easier schedules in the league. I mean, it's the National Football League. Anything can happen. And you know how we play against below average teams, teams that aren't that good. I mean, they love to make us have heart attacks every year. I just say, another week of, a daily heart attack watching this team. But I love it, though. You know, it keeps you on your feet, keeps you on your toes. I don't like the extra blood pressure every week. Don't get me wrong. But,
right.
I'm too young to be having a, heart attack watching my team play. But I think they're going to be a 10-7 team or an 11-6 team. And it just depends on if they get the positions they actually need instead of going out and getting like a wide receiver that we don't need, or we go and get a tight end, like a position we absolutely don't need. I feel like they should go get a middle linebacker, which I've seen they're interested in that middle linebacker from the Dolphins. He just got cut. I think that would be a great acquisition. The middle of the field, we get torched, but then the Steelers, they don't use the middle of the field with Freiermuth or Darnell Washington all year, or Calvin Austin through the middle of the field. And it's just annoying. Like, our keys next year is if we can cover the middle of the field, I'm going to give them 50 or 60% better than what we did last year. I think we could easily win 10 games next year. And that's saying a lot.
Let me ask you this. Everybody makes a big deal about Tomlin has never finished below 500. And it seems like now some people are just satisfied when he gets just above 500. I mean, that's great now that you're getting above 500, but I'm ready for some playoff wins, and I'm ready to see Pittsburgh back in the Super Bowl. I don't know about you. Are you getting isn't it getting a little old?
It's getting annoying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like Tomlin's a little underappreciated at times. But like at the same time, we haven't done anything. The last five playoffs games, we got first rounded. It could be the owner. It could very well be the owner. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think it might be the owner ever since Rooney passed away, like the father, you know what I mean?
Right.
Ever since he passed away, I just don't see the true meaning of being a Steeler, you know what I mean, out of that team. All the TikToks, the drama, everyone crying and complaining when they're not winning, they're not getting the ball, they're not getting as many touches. That's why, like, the mid 2000s eras, like the 2000 to 2010 window, they looked like they wanted to be out there. You know what I mean? They weren't out there to just collect their money and go home. That's how I feel like this team is right now. No heart some weeks, inconsistent. Preparation isn't there. And I'm a ride or die Steelers fan, and I get fed up with it all the time. Like, look, I love my team to death. They can go 0-17 next year, and I would be defeated, but I'm going to still rock with them. But maybe maybe they got to move on. Maybe they got to clear out everybody, like the GMs, the owners, everything, and make a statement. You know what I mean? And I don't like saying that, but you know, maybe change is
Yeah,
good. I don't know what you
well,
think.
when you saw, the Steelers have always been one of the best organizations that football players want to work for. But then what alarms you is when you see I guess each team's report card that comes out each year from the players giving grades, and you see the ownership got what, an F. I want to say it was an F this year or a D one. I can't remember if it was a D or an F. So that kind of alarms you there, and it wasn't great grades. The only really good grade uh, that they got was Tomlin. Tomlin got like a B. It wasn't a really good looking report card that the Steelers got. So um, I don't know. I kind of feel the same way you do. It's kind of been a little bit of complacency in Pittsburgh
Yep.
over the last 6 or 7 years. Like we're satisfied with getting to the playoffs, or we're satisfied for being on the verge of getting to the playoffs, and that's just not the Steeler way. I mean, that's not hadn't been the way for years. I mean, I like you. I am a diehard Steeler. I'll stick with them through thick and thin. There was a year we started Pittsburgh. I think it was '89. The first two games of the season, Pittsburgh got outscored 92-10 in the first two
Yep.
games. And I was still a Steeler fan. And we end up making the playoffs and going to the divisional round and almost beating the Broncos in the divisional round to go to the championship game. So
Don't remind me of that game. That was Tim Tebow, wasn't it?
no, this was '89. This was Elway. So
okay.
don't remind me of that Tebow game. I don't even want to talk
Yeah,
about it.
don't remind me of that one. That one was
That
bad.
overtime, first play of overtime, right across the middle. You talk about we get torched the middle of the field. That guy went right
Yep.
across the middle of the field.
Demarius Thomas. I think it was
Yeah,
Demarius Thomas.
it was.
Yeah.
Don't remind me of that game. But yeah, I mean, we've just got to a point now where it's just like, okay, he's going to get over 5. I mean, that was one of the things that people were talking about the last few weeks of the season. Is Tomlin going to get over 500? Screw that. Let's talk about winning some playoff games. I mean,
Yeah.
geez, this is one of the most storied franchise in the history of the NFL, and it's time we started acting like it too. I mean, we've got some pieces we've got to get, and we've got to learn. Like you said, so glad you mentioned Freiermuth, because I think he could be a big part of that offense. And when they use him right, he is a big part of that offense.
He's a top 5 tight end easily. It's just they don't know when to use him.
I don't know what the problem is there, but they need to use him more. I like the backfield we got. I like Najee and I like Jalen in the backfield. Pickens, needs to maybe grow up a little bit, but he's dangerous. He can be a dangerous weapon. Don't know what Deontay's future is going to be like in Pittsburgh, but
great route runner, but bad case. You know what I mean? Great route runner. I mean,
hands
and he got a
the
hedge.
whole thing, like last year, who were they? The Bengals game where the fumble and he walks right by it and doesn't even look at it. And
oh yeah, I was at that game. Don't remind me of that. I was there.
That bothered me there. That whole attitude thing bothered me. But would I like to see him still around as a Steeler? Sure, I would love to see him. I think him and Pickens could be a dynamic duo. But we can also move somebody else in there and help Pickens too. I think Pickens is going to be a superstar if he just keeps his head on straight.
Oh, absolutely agree.
But yeah, I'm looking forward, and I'll tell you this: we talk about the draft. Talk about the linebackers in the draft. There's one name that I really, really think Pittsburgh should really look into, and I think they are now because I think he had a good combine. Peyton Wilson from NC State. That guy, I've watched a lot of ACC football, and I'm not an NC State fan, but this guy was a beast on the football field. He led that team, and I think he's the kind of player that Pittsburgh could use. He looks like he acts like a Steeler. And I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, Cole Holcomb. I think we were headed in the right direction with that linebacker crew before all the injuries happened. But that might be a name some Steeler fans need to watch out for. Is Peyton Wilson. Hopefully, maybe we can in the draft. Anyway, before we let you go, tell us about your TikTok page. Tell us what you do on there, and let us know your handle so all these people can find you on TikTok.
All right, so you guys see that? Well, hold on, right? Well, it's opposite, but you guys see the name Steelers for Life. I've been doing TikTok for a little over 2 months, I'd say, closer to 3 maybe. I just get on here, conversate with the people in the chat, just talk sports.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a realistic Steelers fan. I mean, I had a little bias today. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with being biased sometimes. But I don't,
okay,
I'm not against all this. But I've just been doing it. I go to games. I give people experiences that they might not be able to do. Go to the games, go live before the games, tailgate experience, go live during the warm-ups, give people an experience that they don't see on TV. You guys just see the games.
Yeah.
But I give you guys a little extra stuff that you wouldn't see on the TV screen. So, yeah, I've been doing that. My chat's awesome. I thank them so much for the support. I was at 1,000 and, in 3 months, I'm at 5K, you know what I mean? And that's
awesome, dude.
It's a blessing, for sure.
I'm new to the TikTok world, but I'm trying to get out there. You're going to see a lot of clips from my podcast come up there on both the Final Score and my other podcast. Like I said, I do a music pop culture podcast, and then we do a pro wrestling podcast too. So we do that from time to time. So hopefully I've got a lot of wrestling clips up there, and I'm working on getting some Steeler clips up there too as well. So guys, check him out on TikTok, Steelers for Life. And I promise you, the first time I went, scrolling through TikTok, and I look up there, and there's this guy just wearing all Steelers stuff, sunglasses on. He's chilling out, and I'm like, okay, I'm sticking around for this for a while. And yeah, he had a lot of people coming there, guys. Give him a follow on TikTok. Matt, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on, taking time out of your schedule and doing this. And maybe we can have you back on again right before the season starts. We'll talk about what they got in the draft and what we think is really going to happen this year.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep in touch. Maybe we can catch a game this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope to get to a game sometime. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. But hey, it was fun. I appreciate you having me.
All right, guys.
And you.
What were you saying, Matt? I'm sorry.
I said, thank you for having me. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to be on here. And,
hey, anytime the door is wide open for you. Anytime you want to come on here, bud. So you just let me know. Guys, that is Matt, Steelers for Life on the Final Score. We'll see you guys next week. You guys have a great week.
You as well.